Remember how I told you guys that Call of Duty Declassified had the most active online community on the PS Vita? Well, I lied. There's actually another game that holds that title. Introducing Helldivers. It's a top-down twin-stick shooter in the same vein as Dead Nation, except this time there's a greater emphasis on teamwork and cooperation. This isn't really the kind of game you go into with guns blazing, although it might seem that way at first. You see, the thing is, every weapon that's used on the battlefield can not only hurt the enemy, but also your own teammate. It's not a big problem when playing solo, but in a group with other people, it requires that you be a little more mindful where you're shooting. Now, I've been playing this for about a week now, and let me just say, this is the online multiplayer game to play on the PS Vita. I have never seen any other PS Vita game with this many people playing at one time. Whether it's 4 in the afternoon or 4 in the morning, there's always someone online. Even at the weirdest hours, I was still able to find a room. Now, this isn't because everyone decided to go out and buy a Vita and a copy of this game all of a sudden. It's actually a lot simpler than that. You see, the game is cross-play between 3 different consoles. The PS Vita, PS3, and PS4 can all play together. Across so many different platforms, it's easy now to see why the servers are always busy. Graphically, the PS3 and PS4 are comparable, and quite honestly, if I didn't know any better, they look pretty much identical. The Vita version, of course, does take a hit, as some of the textures are a little muddier looking. It's also missing some of the environmental effects from the other two consoles. For example, it doesn't have that wavy, atmospheric effect that's floating in the air. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's like, I don't know. Like if you guys ever landed on another planet and you look up into the sky and see that wavy thing in the air, it's kind of like that. Also, I did notice the shadows looking a little rough as well. The performance on the PS Vita is also the worst out of the 3. Now, before you get out your pitchforks, just let me say that although it's the worst out of the 3, it's still not bad. The PS4 version comes out at a solid 60 frames per second, followed by PS3 with 30 frames per second, and finally with the Vita version running anywhere between 25 and 30. It's stable for the most part if you're playing solo, but you will notice a slight drop when 3 or more people are on the screen. The Vita version also has the longest load time, but fortunately it only happens right before the mission starts. So once you get past that, it's pretty much smooth sailing. Well, in terms of loading, that is. As a whole, the game looks great across all 3 platforms thanks to its unique and simple art style. I mean, you do get a sense that you've just landed on an alien planet, regardless of whatever console you're playing on. The visual shortcomings are even less apparent when you're playing on the Vita's 5-inch screen. Trust me, the game looks and runs fine on the Vita. It's no big deal. I think the biggest thing I had to get used to were the controls. They work for the most part, but I hate the fact that the reload and grenade button are mapped to the back touch. And it's not like you tap the back touch either. You have to like slide from the center of the back touch downwards. I mean, I eventually got used to reloading, but throwing the grenade just felt so awkward that I just ended up not using it altogether. Also, inputting the codes felt cumbersome as well. Yes, I said cumbersome. Deal with it. You hold the left trigger down with your index finger and you use your thumb to work the D-pad. On a normal controller, for example, if you're playing on the PlayStation TV, works fine, but on the actual Vita, I found my thumb hitting the left thumbstick way too many times. It's easy enough when there's not much happening on screen, but when the action gets intense, it really slows you down having to hit the D-pad with such an awkward grip. Audio-wise, the game will remind you of Destiny. Or maybe it was Killzone Shadowfall. I don't know, it was one of those games. The weapons sound cool, and the alien planets provide a wildlife soundtrack, which helps to heighten the immersion. Unfortunately, I did notice how the audio would pop every now and then. It's no big deal, but I thought I would mention it. Now for my favorite part, the online multiplayer. There's a variety of ways for you to dispose of the opposing alien race. Machine gun turrets, lasers, mech suits, tanks. Offering a wide assortment of weapons and items to use, it's always fun to see what other players come into battle equipped with. With combat so intense and a level up system that's simple yet compelling, there's this strange sense of not knowing when to quit. I'm always telling myself, alright, just one more mission, just one more mission. Before I know it, it's like 5 in the morning. Upon starting my first mission, I was a little confused as to whether this game was an online-only game or not. I mean, it is, and it isn't. You don't need an online connection to play. You can still level up and unlock new things, but you won't be able to contribute points to the Galactic campaign. It's sort of like a meta game that's played in the background. Points you earn in battle know goes towards the overall score of the entire game. It's something like that. Honestly, it's not even important, and in my opinion, it's not what makes this game great. What does make this game great, however, is completing various missions with other players, which will require an online connection. At first, you will feel slightly lost and underpowered, so I suggest you change your settings to private so no one else can join your game while you learn the controls. I just find it easier that way since I won't have to constantly worry about what someone else is doing on screen. The game isn't too difficult to understand. You choose your mission, which can range from super easy to super difficult. Each mission contains various objectives, and once they're all completed, you radio in a shuttle to come pick you up. The challenge comes in the form of aliens and monsters that want to kill you while you carry out these objectives. Now, on the easier missions, you can pretty much get by on your own, but as you progress further, you will need some assistance, especially for the levels where you need to use that metal detector thing. It helps when someone has your back. This is where Helldivers truly shines. The sense of teamwork is immense. Barely making it through a mission by the skin of your teeth and waiting desperately for the shuttle to arrive while you fend off waves of monsters is one of the most exhilarating moments I've ever experienced in a video game. I'm also surprised at how friendly and cooperative everyone is online. I mean, everyone is just so resourceful, always offering to help you up when you're knocked down or immediately calling you back in after you die. There doesn't seem to be any form of trolling or people misbehaving in any way, at least none that I could recognize. After playing a few hours online, my faith in humanity has somewhat been restored. Thanks, Helldivers. Now, although the game relies heavily on cooperation, most matches can be carried out without a headset. I felt that given the nature of how the missions are laid out, you can pretty much get a sense of what needs to be done without really having to talk into a mic.
Woo, super jump. Captain.
Granted, I do think having a headset does help in the long run, especially if you're thinking about taking on the more extreme levels. Those levels, I admit, will require some form of strategic planning to pull off, but for the average gamer who just wants to have fun, I think you'll be fine without one. You know what I also love about this game? This is gonna sound a little stupid and it's probably just in my head, but here's the thing. And feel free to let me know in the comments if you agree. So here's the thing. Whenever you join an online mission that's already in progress, right after you select your loadout and as you see yourself being shot down from the shuttle, you get this weird sense of excitement and determination as if you're about to go down there and make some sort of difference. You imagine that your team down below is struggling to hang on and that you're their one last hope for survival. I mean, it's not the case most of the time. They're probably doing just fine without you, but occasionally it will be that way, and it feels oh so good to be that one guy that comes to the rescue. Does that make sense? Of course, there's one major downfall to Helldivers, and it comes with every game that's centered around online multiplayer. It's the fact that you have to be in an online multiplayer match to really experience what the game has to offer. You can set the room to private and play missions by yourself, but that can only get you so far. Sooner or later, you will need some assistance to complete the more difficult missions. It's just unavoidable, but trust me, it's a lot of fun. And you will get used to playing with other people. I thought I would hate it at first, but I'm absolutely loving it. Without it, single player is kind of boring. I mean, use it at first to learn the controls and understand the mechanics, but don't be afraid to jump online with other people. It's gonna be alright, trust me. You don't even need to have to talk to anyone. Most often than not, some other guy will have a mic on and they'll probably be the one leading the team, so don't feel like you're obligated to have to talk to complete strangers. And if you're feeling up to the challenge, you can jump right into an online match even if you're just starting out. There's plenty of available rooms to join at all different skill levels, so don't think you need to be at an extremely high level to play either. And if you're still on the fence about picking up Helldivers, then just know that not only is this game cross-play, it's also cross-buy and cross-save. For $20, you get 3 copies of the game across 3 different platforms. Play on any one of them, and your progress is seamlessly saved and carried over to the next. If you're playing on either the PS3 or PS4, then the Vita version is the perfect companion for playing this game on the go. I've been alternating between my PS4 Pro and my PS Vita for the last week, and let me just tell you, it's been one hell of a ride. Give it a try, it's well worth the price of admission. It's tough being a PS Vita owner, but it's even tougher trying to find PS Vita games with an active online community. I actually made a video talking about all the current Vita games that's still being played online today. There's a link to the right if you guys want to check it out. Also, the link below it are Vita games that don't have an active online community. They're still great games, but just don't expect to find anyone online playing them. And if you enjoy this content, then consider subscribing. Do that and you'll help me buy more games to talk about. Later.